Unbelievable. She lost her job helping a veteran's dog, then 50 Marines made a life-changing stand. Emily Thompson's heart raced as she stumbled upon the headline splashed across her phone's screen that morning. After years of dedicating herself to rescuing lost and abandoned dogs, her life took a sudden and painful turn. The very thing that fueled her passion cost her everything. The image of Dave, a homeless veteran with weary eyes and a trembling dog by his side, flashed through her mind. Her compassionate decision to help him had spun everything out of control. Rising early as she always did, Emily inhaled the crisp morning air, hoping for a miracle. Together with her 8-year-old son, Noah, they would head to the animal shelter, a humble haven that meant the world to her. The smell of fresh coffee mixed with the cozy embrace of fur and wagging tails, where love for animals bloomed amidst the chaos. It was a place filled with hope, where she poured her soul into giving a second chance to those who had lost theirs. That day, despite her spirit being shaken, she felt the familiar flicker of hope as she knelt to greet the dogs, each wag introducing a new story, another chance, but that hope shattered the moment her boss called her in. "We can't have this kind of behavior," he said, his tone colder than the wind that howled outside. "Helping a homeless man and his dog? That's not our policy." With those words, her heart plummeted, and the weight of uncertainty crashed down. She was dismissed, her dreams fractioned like shattered glass. How would she explain this to Noah? Days turned into a blur of desperate phone calls, late-night crying, and anxiety. The bills piled up, creating a mountain threatening to topple over. The impending eviction loomed like a dark cloud. Emily felt the walls closing in, but the fire within her never entirely extinguished. It was just waiting for a spark. That spark arrived in the form of whispers echoing through her tight-knit suburban neighborhood. People began to talk. Who was this woman who lost everything for the love of a dog? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Inspired by Emily's unwavering commitment, 50 Marines who served alongside Dave rallied together. They declared they wouldn't let her plight slip into silence. This was an injustice they stood against, a cause settling in their hearts. Fundraising plans blossomed, a gala to restore Emily's livelihood while addressing the needs of veterans and their pets. Each step towards the gala stirred excitement, painting a picture of hope against the backdrop of despair, but on the night of the event, tensions surged like a storm. Emily took a deep breath, standing at the entrance adorned with twinkling lights, and realized the very people who fired her were watching from the crowd. Fear mingled with anticipation as she learned they'd shown up, the weight of her decision heavy on her shoulders. Would she stand up against them? Would she reclaim her dignity amid this strange blend of support and confrontation? As all eyes turned to her, a wave of courage washed over Emily. Here she stood, on the precipice of a moment that could define her life. Would she speak? Would she fight? The question lingered in the air, echoing through her heart, fueling her determination for what lay ahead. Emily took a deep breath, her heart pounding like a drum echoing in the room. It was a gala hall transformed, filled with supporters who believed in her cause and in the power of compassion. The crowd buzzed, their eyes wide with anticipation. Would she break the silence? Would she let the anger out and channel it into something bigger? "Thank you all for being here tonight," she began, her voice steady despite the tumult inside her. The murmurs quieted as every head turned to focus on her, emboldening Emily to continue. "I never imagined I would be standing in front of all of you like this, not under these circumstances." She caught a glimpse of Noah in the crowd, his small frame nestled among the supportive faces of friends and even strangers. He smiled, brimming with pride. For him, she would do this. For all the lost souls she fought for, human and animal alike, she needed to speak, when she looked toward the corner of the room, the three faces she recognized, her former boss and two colleagues, tightened into uncomfortable frowns. They shifted as if the ground beneath them was hot coal. Emily swallowed, feeling a surge of mixed emotions, anger, fear, but also an undeniable awareness of the strength flowing through her. "I lost my job, yes," she continued, her voice rising with passion. "But it was worth it. Helping Dave and his dog brought me back to the reason I do what I do. Sometimes, you have to fight for what is right, even if it means losing everything." The crowd erupted in applause, resonating with her words. Each clap felt like a warm embrace, filling her with new energy. It wasn't a simple battle, it was a fight for dignity, for doing the right thing, for standing alongside those who felt invisible. "I learned that every act of kindness, no matter how small, matters. Every dog saved, every veteran supported, it creates ripples of change." And suddenly, there they were, the Marines who had rallied together, standing proudly at the back of the room. Emily noticed how they exchanged glances, nodding in solidarity. Their pride turned her nervousness into determination, like a spark igniting a flame. As she continued, the room transformed into a sanctuary of understanding. Stories poured from her heart, anecdotes of resilience and human spirit that tied her to every person present. Each heartfelt recounting drew people in, their emotions dancing in harmony with her own. But her gaze returned, time and again, to those who had caused her pain, the ones who fired her for caring too much. They shifted uncomfortably as she spoke of a world that should prioritize love and service over conformity. It was clear they were facing the consequences of their decisions. But then, as hope filled the room, Emily's voice softened. "It's time to change the conversation. I may have lost my job, but I won't lose my mission." With that, she lifted her chin, a symbol of defiance and hope. The unseen bonds of connection reached out, and the audience surged with encouragement. They loved her spirit. They believed her. Just then, one of the Marines, a rugged man with tears glistening in his eyes, stepped forward. "Together, we can shift this perspective once and for all," he declared. A cheer erupted, carrying promises of action and unity. Emily felt it, a wave of collective strength. She could change lives not just for herself but for others on the margins, just like Dave. And as the energy in the room crescendoed, her mind raced with possibilities. But then, through the thundering applause, a familiar face entered through the swinging doors. It was Dave. And beside him stood a woman dressed in crisp business attire, holding a clipboard. Their eyes locked with hers, and everything froze for just an instant. What would they say? What was her next move? The moment felt like the calm before the storm, leaving Emily at a fork in the road of her newly rekindled journey. Would this encounter become an allyship or an unexpected confrontation? As she stood on the edge of this uncertainty, the question loomed: how would Emily respond to the choices that lay ahead? Emily felt her heart race as Dave's presence intensified in the room. Every beat resonated through her, tinged with anxiety. He looked so different now, stronger, more determined, as if the experience they shared had forged a new bond between them. But it was the woman beside him, clipboard in hand, that sent a chill down her spine. Was she just here for moral support, or did she hold something more significant, the power to change everything all over again? "Emily." Dave's voice cut through the murmur of the crowd, drawing attention. It was a call for connection, an anchor in a sea of uncertainty. "Can we talk?" Emily took a step closer, her breath catching. The applause faded to whispers around her. The crowd sensed the shift, the tension crackling like static in the air. She could feel the eyes of her former boss and colleagues thick on her back as she faced Dave. He was once a symbol of every struggle she endured, and now he stood as a reminder of the cost of her choices. "Of course," she replied, forcing the words out, her throat dry. "What is going on?" The woman beside Dave looked at him, then back to Emily. With a subtle nod, she handed Dave the clipboard, her expression serious yet expectant. "We want to create something together, he said, his voice a steady resolve despite the vulnerability in his eyes. This everything you're doing, it's powerful. You've ignited something in me. And I think we can take it further. Emily's heart lifted slightly at his words. It wasn't just a desperate plea, there was genuine intent behind them that sent a spark of hope coursing through her veins. What do you mean? She asked, drawn into the tender urgency of the moment. This is Lisa, he motioned to the woman. She's with a nonprofit that supports veterans and their families. We want to combine forces, to launch a campaign that raises awareness for veterans like me, those who feel invisible. Emily blinked, processing the unforeseen twist in her journey. It was what she yearned for, an opportunity to make a lasting impact beyond her individual efforts. You mean you want to work together? Yes. Dave's passion was infectious, lighting up the concern on his face. Imagine the lives we could touch if we raise funds, provide training for service dogs, and create community outreach programs. Together, we could change the narrative. The room swelled with anticipation as whispers of disbelief and excitement rippled through the crowd. Emily could see the faces around her. They were drawn in, inspired not just by her journey but by what lay ahead. She felt her vision aligning with something bigger than herself, but doubt twisted in her gut. What about the fallout from my old job? I could get pulled into a legal mess. Let them try, Lisa interjected, her voice firm. We're building a movement here, and we need you at the forefront. Don't let fear dim your light, you've shown everyone what it means to fight. Emily's mind buzzed with possibilities. What if this alliance could spark a revolution and inspiration not just within their community but across the nation? But she was also acutely aware of the risks, her heart ached from the recent scars of betrayal. Will you stand with us? Dave asked, his eyes unwavering. Will you let this be the next chapter of your journey? As Emily looked into Dave's hopeful eyes and felt the support of the crowd press around her, she knew she was at a crossroads. This was a chance not only to give voice to veterans but to reclaim her purpose. It terrified her, yet exhilaration bloomed in her chest. Together she breathed, we can create something amazing. A roar of approval erupted, drowning out her doubts. Emily felt the surge of hope surging through her, woven into the fabric of their shared mission. But beneath the excitement, uncertainty simmered. What new obstacles would emerge from this unexpected partnership? Would they truly become allies in this fight? As the applause thundered and the cheers grew louder, Emily squared her shoulders. The chance to act was here, but so were the shadows of her past. What awaited her beyond this moment of triumph? Would the strength of this new alliance be enough to face whatever challenges lay ahead? Only time would tell. The vibrant buzz of the crowd filled Emily's ears like a tidal wave as she took a deep breath. She glanced at Lisa, who smiled encouragingly, then turned to Dave. His intent gaze made her heart flutter. This felt monumental, a chance for change, yet the shadows of her past lurked just outside her vision. What's our first step? She asked, her voice steadier than the storm inside her. Dave's eyes lit up. We need to gather a team. People who care, who understand the struggle. This community is ready for a movement, and I know just the place to start. Emily felt a surge of energy at his words. The air around them buzzed with potential, the crowd now a mere backdrop to what had ignited between them. What if we have a launch event? Something that highlights our mission but also shares our stories? Exactly. Dave exclaimed, enthusiasm spilling from his voice. We can bring together veterans, families, and anyone who has been touched by this issue. Raise funds, provide training, bring in speakers who can shed light on these challenges. We could even start with some workshops. The ideas flew back and forth like a volley of sparks, igniting Emily's imagination. Each one felt like a stepping stone, building towards something greater than she could have envisioned alone. She started to feel what it meant to be part of something much bigger with Dave and Lisa at her side. They could make waves. As they brainstormed, Emily caught sight of familiar faces in the crowd. Friends, former colleagues, and even some who had questioned her decisions in the past. She saw their expressions range from surprise to admiration, their whispers a blend of excitement and disbelief. It was as if by stepping forward, she was pulling them into this new journey. Hours passed in a whirlwind of planning and discussions. Emily's pulse quickened as ideas took shape. They mapped out outreach strategies, engaged local businesses for support, and even conceptualized potential partnerships with organizations invested in veterans' well-being. It felt like they were sewing the fabric of a dream, each thread connecting people, stories, and hope, but just as momentum surged within them, Emily's phone buzzed violently in her pocket, a harsh reminder of the reality waiting outside this exhilaration. She glanced down at the screen and her heart sank. A message from her old boss flashed on display, the tension in her chest tightening. "Let us meet. There's a lot to discuss about your termination." Emily's breath hitched at the implications. She hadn't expected this so soon. Her newfound excitement stood in stark contrast to the looming threat that reminded her of all she had lost. "Everything okay?" Dave's voice was laced with concern, pulling her back to the moment. "I need to deal with something," she murmured, the weight of her old life crashing back in. "Don't let them get to you. You're making a difference now," Dave encouraged, his hand resting gently on her arm. His touch was reassuring, yet doubts crept in like shadows at dusk. Could she truly stand firm in this new purpose when the past was unwilling to let go? Taking a moment, she breathed deeply, gathering her strength. "I can handle this. I just need a little time." "But we're in this together," Lisa added, her tone soft yet strong. "We'll face challenges, but we are strong, and together we can navigate this." Together. The word hung in the air, a promise and a challenge all at once. As the trio continued to discuss, Emily's mind raced. Every word, every plan they discussed seemed to illuminate a path leading away from what had once been her reality. Could this be her redemption? Was she ready to rise from the ashes of her old life? Questions tangled with a glimmer of hope, but she knew answers would not come easily. That night, as they wrapped up their plans, Emily felt an unfamiliar knot of resolve forming within her. The stakes were high, and there was no turning back now. What awaited her when she faced her past again? Would it truly serve as a catalyst for her future, or would it pull her under? The answers loomed, waiting just beyond her grasp, daring her to step into the unknown once more. The next day dawned bright but heavy. Emily stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, the sunlight streaming in, yet she felt shadows lingering. Today was the day she would meet her old boss. A knot twisted in her stomach as she thought about everything that had transpired. She had stepped away from the comfort of what she knew to forge a new path, and now, facing her old life felt like standing at the edge of a diving board. Lisa's voice called from the hallway, breaking her thoughts. "Hey, don't forget about our meeting with the community center this afternoon. We need your voice for this." Emily took a deep breath, forcing a smile. "I won't forget, I promise. Just dealing with some stuff from my last job," she replied, her voice wavering. "You've got this. Remember, this is about what we can build together," Lisa encouraged, clasping Emily's shoulder. It felt good to have someone pushing her forward. The drive to the cafe was a blur, her mind racing with half-formed strategies for her meeting. Would her boss even give her a chance to explain? The fear wrapped around her, threatening to suffocate the hope she had just begun to nurture. As Emily stepped into the cafe, the clinking of cups and low hum of chatter surrounded her. She spotted her former boss, Mark, seated at a table in the corner, leafing through some paperwork. He looked up as she approached, and the coldness in his eyes hit her like a slap. "Emily," he greeted flatly, gesturing for her to sit. "Let's get straight to the point." As they talked, each word felt like another brick in a wall, blocking her view of the future she wanted. Mark reiterated the reasons for her termination, the way he had framed her work as a failure, a waste of resources. Her heart clenched tighter with each jab he took, making it hard to breathe. Helping veterans? It's a nice idea, but it just doesn't pay the bills, he said, disdain dripping from his voice. She opened her mouth to protest, but the right words wouldn't come. You had potential, Emily, but chasing this passion project will only lead to ruin. A dream won't feed you. The silence that followed felt earth-shattering. Everything she had wanted to achieve was reduced to a mere nuance. But then a spark ignited within her. Was Mark right? Or was this the moment she had been preparing for? The thought of giving up felt like betrayal not just to herself, but to all the veterans and their families counting on her belief and efforts. Without thinking too much, she gathered her courage. You're wrong, Mark. This isn't just a dream. It's a chance for change. And it'll feed not just me, but a whole community. His expression shifted, a flicker of surprise passing over his face. She sensed he hadn't expected her to stand up for herself in this way. But beneath his skepticism, there was a hint of fear as well. As she left the cafe, a rush of empowerment flooded through her. She had fought for her voice and it felt liberating. The defeat she feared didn't come, instead, it transformed into an energized purpose. Hours later, as she entered the community center, filling the room with laughter and chatter felt like slipping on a favorite jacket. The space hummed with anticipation. Dave was there with his warm smile, and Lisa waved excitedly, her energy contagious. Look who's here. Ready to take the world by storm? Dave asked, grinning wide. I just might be, Emily replied, feeling the weight of the world lift. As they dived into their discussion, Emily felt the overwhelming support of the community sweep around her. She shared her vision passionately, outlining plans for workshops, fundraising events, and outreach efforts. Voices chimed in with ideas, suggestions, and even personal stories that echoed her own, but amidst the excitement, doubt lurked in the shadows. Could they really move forward with strength? Was the community ready to back her up against adversities she could not predict? Before she could fully embrace the progress they were making, her phone vibrated once more. A new message lit up her screen. I've got some information that could change everything you're working for. Her heart raced. What was that supposed to mean? The thrill of possibility mixed with a creeping anxiety, pushing her to reconsider how far she could go. As she locked eyes with Dave and Lisa, their unwavering belief in her reignited a spark deep inside. What would this new information lead to? Would it yield the breakthrough she so desperately sought, or would it shatter everything she had fought for? The air crackled with potential, and Emily knew she was ready for whatever lay ahead. She just hoped it wouldn't come at too high a price. Emily placed her phone down, a mix of curiosity and apprehension swirling within her. The community center buzzed with energy, but her mind was elsewhere, racing toward the implications of the message. Emily? You okay? Lisa's voice broke through her thoughts, concern evident on her face. Yeah, just a message from my old boss. He said he has information that could change everything. Emily shrugged, trying to keep her tone light, but the worry dripped into her words. What does that even mean? Dave interjected, his brow furrowing. Is he trying to undermine you again? No idea. But it's kind of unnerving. I thought I was done with all that. Emily shifted in her chair, the old anxieties creeping back in. She wanted to shake it off, but the weight of her past felt like a chain, pulling at her heels just as she began to fly. You're doing great here. That's what matters, Lisa encouraged, squeezing Emily's hand. Focus on this. You have a whole community behind you. Emily forced a smile, grateful for the support. You're right. Let us keep the momentum going. They brainstormed and whipped up ideas, laughter ringing in the air as energy surged through the room. The community listened and collaborated, each voice becoming a thread in the tapestry of Emily's vision. Her heart swelled with purpose. By the end of their meeting, Emily had a sense of direction, a plan infused with the community's spirit. They start with a fundraiser to get resources for veterans programs. She felt a warmth wrap around her as they cheered for her courage. As the buzz died down and people began to leave, a feeling washed over Emily. It was time to share her journey. They needed to understand what was at stake. "Can I have everyone's attention for a moment?" She stepped forward, her pulse quickening. "I just want to thank all of you for being here. What we're doing is so important, not just for us, but for everyone who has sacrificed for this country. And I want you to know that I've fought hard to get here. I lost my job because I wanted to help a veteran. But standing here with all of you makes it clear that this isn't just my dream anymore. It's ours." Cheers erupted. Laughter and applause felt electric, shattering the last remnants of her doubt. "Now, let us make this happen," Dave shouted, his eyes shining with shared excitement. As they gathered their things, Emily's phone buzzed again. A name she hadn't seen in years lit up the screen. Sarah, an old college friend. Intrigued, she swiped open the message. "Emily, where are you? I heard about what you're doing. We need to talk. I have something big for you." Her heart thudded in her chest. "Guys, I need to take this," she said, rushing outside into the cool evening air. "Go for it," Lisa yelled after her, her enthusiasm infectious. Transparent clouds drifted slowly overhead as Emily read Sarah's text again. What could it possibly be? A rush of adrenaline surged through her. Out of breath, she hit call, her fingers trembling slightly. "Emily. I can't believe what you're doing. It's incredible." Sarah's voice burst through the line, warm and familiar. "Thanks, Sarah. I really just want to make a difference. But you mentioned you have something big? Right, I heard about a program that's looking for someone like you, someone passionate about helping veterans. I'm serious, it could change everything, but you need to move fast." Emily leaned against the wall, her mind racing. This could be the break she had been talking about, an opportunity wrapped in urgency. "Tell me more. What do I need to do?" As Sarah began to explain, Emily felt electricity crackle in her veins. The path she'd been walking suddenly felt broader, illuminated by endless possibilities. Just then, she caught a glimpse of Mark across the street. He was walking toward her, shadows pooling around him. "Hold on a second," she said into the phone. "I think I've got a visitor." "What? Who?" Sarah's voice pinged with confusion. Emily's heart dropped. Standing before her was a part of her past that had been so tumultuous, and he was coming closer. What would he say? How could he disrupt this moment of rebirth? "Just, hang on," she murmured, her eyes locked on Mark. Her pulse quickened. Would this be a new lesson in letting go, or a confrontation that would lead to a deeper understanding? Did she have the strength to face him again, right when everything seemed to come together? The air around her seemed to close in, every heartbeat echoing with the weight of her choices. And as the world spun, she wondered, was this the place where she would find closure, or another challenge to overcome? Emily took a deep breath, steeling herself as Mark approached. The jovial spirits of the community meeting felt worlds away from the emotional tempest brewing within her. He had always been magnetic, drawing people in with his easy smile, but today, his presence felt heavy, charged with unresolved tension. "Emily," he called out, his voice hesitant yet warm, like a forgotten melody. "Mark," she replied, forcing her voice to remain steady, though her heart raced. Memories flooded back, moments of laughter twisted with regret, joy shadowed by pain. "What are you doing here? I heard about the fundraiser." "I'm really proud of you," he said, sincerity etched across his handsome features. "You're really making a difference." She swallowed, unsure how to respond. His compliment stirred something deep inside her, something she had tried to bury. "Thanks. It's a team effort." Standing there, the air thick with unspoken words, she could hear Sarah's voice receding into the background. The urgency of the call seemed to dissipate, replaced by Mark's unexpected presence. "Look, Emily, I know it's been a long time," he began, his eyes searching hers. "There's something I need to talk to you about." Her stomach knotted. She could sense it building. The conversation was edging toward that familiar cliff, where truths were either laid bare or left to unravel into silence. "I'm listening," she said cautiously, drawing a breath, trying to prepare herself for whatever confession was coming next. He hesitated, then stepped closer. "I've been thinking a lot about everything that happened." His words trailed off, burdened by emotion. "And I regret how things ended between us." Emily felt her defenses go up, ready to protest. Didn't he have a right to move on and leave her behind? But somewhere beneath her indignation, a flicker of longing persisted. It was the same longing that had haunted her nights. "How can you regret it now?" she managed to say, her voice breaking slightly. "You decided to walk away. I was left to pick up the pieces." "I know. I was foolish." His brow furrowed, sincerity radiating off him like warmth from a summer sun. "But that's not what I want to focus on. I want to be here for you now. I know it's asking a lot." Her heart twisted, battling between the hope that maybe there was still a thread worth holding onto and the need to protect herself from further pain. "Why now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why not when it mattered?" Mark's eyes hardened slightly, but they remained locked onto hers. "Because I didn't realize how much it would hurt to lose you until it was too late. I've changed, and I've been working hard to understand my faults." The revelation cut deep. Change didn't always mean reconciliation, but still, a tiny glimmer of possibility danced in front of her. "It's not just that, Mark. You left me with so much uncertainty." "I know," he said softly, stepping further into her personal space. "And I'm not expecting you to forgive me right away. I'd never dream of pushing back into your life without your permission. I'm just here, wanting to see how I can support you. Just please let me try." Behind him, the community center buzzed with life, laughter echoing through the doors. Was it possible, she wondered, to focus on what lay ahead while carrying the burdens of the past? "Emily," Sarah's voice broke through the fog of emotion, snapping her back to reality. "Are you okay? What's happening?" Emily hesitated, torn between the past that stood inches from her and the future she was beginning to carve out for herself. What would it mean to let Mark back in, even just a little? Would it disrupt her plan, her community, her newfound purpose? As the gravity of her choices tightened its grip, she felt the pressing weight of two lives converging in this moment. "Sarah, can I call you back?" she finally said, her heart pounding in her chest. "Yeah. Of course, but hold on, Mark," she whispered. What was she going to choose? In this moment, everything shifted. Would she break her chain of the past, or would she wrap it around her again, as Emily weighed her options? Mark's eyes searched hers, hope hanging in the balance. Would the promise of change lead to a brighter future, or would she find herself repeating the same mistakes? And just like that, a realization struck her. Sometimes, letting go doesn't mean forgetting, but rather finding a way to walk toward the light. She took a tentative step forward. But in that instant, everything she thought she knew began to unravel once more. What would she discover in the shadows? Emily's heart raced in her chest as she stepped closer to Mark. The weight of years and unspoken words hung between them like an open wound. She was caught in a storm of memories, so vivid they felt real enough to touch. The laughter shared over coffee, the promise whispered under the stars, each moment a thread in a tapestry that had been violently ripped apart. "Emily," he said softly, his voice shaking slightly, "I want to make amends." The sincerity in his eyes set her heart pounding. But the vulnerability also scared her. She wanted to scream, to run, to ignore the whole conversation. Was it possible to untangle the threads they had woven together, or would they snap, leaving her exposed once more? Making amends. How? She asked, her voice barely a whisper, as if saying it aloud might break whatever fragile connection existed at that moment. Let me help you with the fundraiser, Mark suggested, a hint of determination creeping into his tone. I know it's important to you. We could do this together. Every inch of her body reacted to the idea. A part of her wanted to shout yes, to grasp onto this opportunity as if it were a lifeline. But the other part, the protective part, screamed at her to remember the hurt, the abandonment. And then what? You think you can just waltz back in, help me with a few events, and all will be forgotten? Mark flinched at her piercing words. No, I don't expect that at all. I know it won't be easy, but I need you to trust me to let me try. Emily's thoughts tumbled like a river rushing to the sea. Could she allow Mark to enter her world again? The pain of the past loomed large, and yet, here was a glimmer of possibility, a chance for something different. Trust isn't easily earned, she reminded him. The ache in her heart throbbed more painfully, a duality of hope and fear battling for dominance. I know I messed up, he replied, his voice steady but his eyes revealing anguish. But everything I've been doing since has been to become a better man, someone you can rely on. She couldn't resist the flicker of curiosity that ignited within her. What have you been doing? It was a bold question, and yet, she needed to know if there was truth in his words. I've been volunteering with vets, helping them with their pets, Mark replied. Understanding the impact that companionship has on their mental health. I've seen, firsthand, how just being there for someone can change everything. His words struck a chord in Emily. Her work with the fundraiser was grounded in helping others, in lifting the weight of their burdens, just as Mark had begun to do. Perhaps there was a connection still lurking beneath the surface. I get that you want to be involved, she said slowly, weighing each word carefully. But it doesn't address what happened between us. It doesn't erase the past. Mark took a step closer, the air filled with unspoken promises. What if we could start rebuilding? Not everything has to be perfect right away, I just want a chance to show you that I've changed. Emily's heart fluttered, torn between the walls she had erected for her own protection and the longing to believe in the possibility of healing. She could see in his eyes a plea for a second chance, one that might not just change him but could also alter her fate. As she tried to process the whirlwind of emotions, Sarah's voice broke through the haze again. Emily? Just a second. She called out, not breaking her gaze from Mark. In that moment, everything felt suspended. Choices loomed before her, each one a path leading either back into the dark shadows of her history or towards a new light she had only just begun to comprehend, but could she really take that leap? Was the risk worth the potential reward? In Mark's eyes, she saw a reflection of her own struggle. They were both at a crossroad. If she could embrace the unknown, what might she find on the other side? As hope swirled, engulfing her like a warm embrace, Emily felt the ground shift beneath her. Could this be the moment that changed everything? Would she dare to step through the door he was slowly opening? Filled with equal parts dread and exhilaration, she took a deep breath, ready to confront the ghosts of their past, and perhaps the promise of a different future. The silence stretched between them, heavy like a blanket on a chilly night. Emily's heart dropped. She could hear her own breath, a metronome measuring the seconds. There was a weight in the air, tangible and thick. She felt as if she were standing on the edge of a cliff, peering down at the unknown. What are you really asking for, Mark? She said, her voice steady, even as her insides twisted. Are you looking for forgiveness or just a way back into my life? His gaze intensified, searching her face for understanding. Both, maybe. But more than anything, I want to show you that I'm different now. She felt a twinge of something, not quite hope, but a teasing flicker of interest. Different how? Like I said, I'm volunteering, giving back, trying to understand where I went wrong. He paused, gathering thoughts that seemed trapped in his chest. I realized I had been selfish, and I took you for granted. I want to make it right. Emily's heart constricted at the honesty in his voice. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to toss the walls she had meticulously built for safety and embrace this new version of Mark. But could she trust him again? Trust can't be built on words alone, she replied, hating the tremor in her voice. Mark stepped back, giving her space, but he didn't let his gaze falter. Then let us build it through actions. I can help with the fundraiser. You're fighting for something important, let me be part of that. His insistence rattled something deep inside her. She thought of the event looming ahead, the late nights filled with organizing, the passion that radiated from her volunteers, and the smiles of the veterans they were supporting. It meant everything to her. Don't you see? She said, frustration rising. This is not just about us. I know, he replied, and his voice dropped to a lower tone, softer. But isn't that a reason to try? To show that things can change? At that moment, Sarah poked her head around the corner, her eyes bouncing between them. Emily, is everything okay? Emily glanced at Sarah, then back at Mark. The swirl of emotions inside her felt like a tempest. This wasn't just about a failed relationship, it was about facing old wounds, about healing not just herself but a community of people who depended on her. Can we? Mark began, then faltered. Can we take this one step at a time? She let out a shaky breath. The prospect of letting him in, even just a little, sent ripples of anxiety through her. I don't know if I'm ready for this. Sometimes, you have to take risks to find what you've been missing, he urged, his voice low. I could be the person you need. Her heart raced again, the weight of his words hitting her squarely. If she let him in, could it mean opening the door to new possibilities, healing old wounds in the process? How many times had she pictured a life without regret, a chance to rewrite the past? Mark's eyes pleaded with her to consider the possibilities. If I mess up, you can kick me out, but please, give me a chance. Emily felt the tight grip of fear loosen just a fraction. What if it doesn't work out? Then, at least we tried, he replied, the sincerity marching straight from his heart to hers. As she stood there, the intensity of the moment electrified the air. The choice before her felt monumental, a leap of faith into an uncertain future. She could hear the faint, almost teasing echoes of laughter in her mind, the happy memories flashing like fireflies on a warm summer night. What scared her most was that, against all odds, she wanted to believe him. Taking a step back, she searched his face, hoping to find the comfort or compassion she needed. Okay, she whispered, barely breathing, we'll start with the fundraiser. The slightest smile broke across his face. Thank you, Emily. But as she turned away, her stomach twisted with worry. What had she just committed to? And more importantly, had she made the right choice? As she walked back toward Sarah, uncertainty clawed at her inside. Could this really lead to healing, or was she opening a door that should have remained closed? With her heart a mixture of hope and dread, she knew the next days would become a test of both their resolve and the fragile bond they were trying to stitch back together. But at what cost would this chance come? Emily stood at the edge of her new life, her heart racing. The gala had succeeded beyond her wildest dreams, yet here stood Mark, the ghost of her past, offering a chance at redemption. It was as if she held two futures in her hands, one, a leap into the unknown, the other, a comfortable but confining warmth of what once was. Together, we can make a difference, he had said, and those words echoed through her mind. The fundraiser was a testament to hope, a testament to resilience. But could he really be a part of it again? Could he give her the truth she needed, the truth that would confirm her decision? As the days passed, Emily submerged herself in the preparations for the upcoming event. Wesley, the community center director, became their spirit guide, propelling their mission forward with contagious enthusiasm. Conversations stirred excitement around the community, businesses lined up for sponsorships, and the venue buzzed with energy. Then Mark stepped into the picture. He worked hard, day and night, dedicating himself to every detail. While doubt flickered in Emily's heart at every interaction, she couldn't ignore the change in him. The kindness he showed to everyone, his willingness to help, the way he stepped back when she needed space. It felt different this time. It felt promising, but with every slap of the hammer against nails and every flyer printed, there remained an undercurrent of tension. Late nights found them reminiscing about their past as they set up tables and decorations. Laughter often filled the air, but when the room grew quiet, the emotional tension thickened to a suffocating weight. Regrets loomed, threatening to eclipse their fragile new beginning. The night of the gala arrived. The stars twinkled overhead, illuminating the community center bustling with people, a patchwork of love and support woven tight with purpose. Emily glanced around, her heart swelling with pride as veterans mingled, sharing stories, laughter, and hope. She felt the tides of her journey wash over her, memories of pain transforming into gratitude. As she made her way to the stage, emotions swirled within her like a hurricane. She took a deep breath, recalling the fear that had frozen her, but now, she felt buoyed by courage. Seeing Noah's smile brightened her spirit, and that spark of hope reignited within. Standing at the podium, she glanced over the crowd, friends, neighbors, supporters, and most importantly, the veterans she had longed to help. Every single soul resonated deep within her, inspiring her to charge through the fears with newfound strength. "Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight." Her voice rang out, steady and filled with passion. "This night is about so much more than funds. It's about bringing lives together, promoting understanding, and giving a voice to veterans everywhere. Together, we can create ripples that reach beyond our own backyard." A thunderous cheer erupted in response. The energy felt electric, reviving her spirit. As she spoke about the vision, she cast her eyes in search of Mark. There he stood, supportive, smiles soft and genuine, offering her quiet strength from the crowd. But just as momentum surged, a cold gust swept through the room. Emily's heart raced as she spotted Mark's old boss, his presence looming like an unwelcome storm cloud. Would the past come crashing down just as she felt an upward rush? Mark stepped forward. "I need to take care of something," he whispered to Emily, and before she could protest, he moved through the crowd to confront the shadow of their past. "Mark, wait!" she called, panic spiraling, but words failed as he took a deep breath. Standing before his former boss, both men squared off like gladiators prepared for battle. She could hear snippets of their conversation. "I'm doing this for the veterans," Mark said with a resolute steadiness, much to the surprise of those gathered around. The crowd hushed, some bracing for tension, yet others seemed to regard Mark with anticipation. "You can't just dismiss the importance of helping those in need," he continued, firmness lacing each word, the weight of his convictions unfurling. "This isn't only about profits. It's about lives." Emily listened, heart swelling with pride. Mark's voice rang louder than the fears of their past. She had wanted change from him, and here it was. And then, a standing ovation resounded through the hall. A wave of applause rolled over, and she rushed toward Mark. He looked back at her, eyes sparkling with warmth. This was her new beginning, a part of healing, not just for herself but for everyone around them. "That's my guy," she said, her grin radiating amidst the light. She squeezed his hand, and together, they stepped back into the rhythm of hope. The night continued, laughter merging seamlessly with shared stories. Their vision took flight as new possibilities bloomed with every connection made. As the evening wrapped, she realized that what mattered most was the journey they had taken together. They would face challenges, dance with the shadows of their past, and weave a story of resilience within their community. Ultimately, they weren't just making a difference, they were a testament to the power of second chances, fighting for something greater than themselves on a path lit by passion and love. And as Emily stepped away from that podium, finally feeling the weight lift, she knew they had the strength to forge ahead. Their story was just beginning, so, my friends, now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. This is the moment to show your support by leaving a like now. It really feeds the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let us keep the spirit alive.